The President of the United States, the head of the state of USA and the most powerful man in the world, the man who is considered to be the leader of the free world and the symbol of democracy, liberty and free market economy. But how was this so powerful post created? What made the President head of the state? And why the President? Why not Prime Minister or Chancellor? United States of America emerged from the 13 British colonies: Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Unlike other former British colonies like India, Canada, Australia, etc., United States did not inherit the parliamentary form of government from the British, but rather adopted a presidential form of government, where the president is not only the head of the state, but also head of the government. Whereas in parliamentary form of government, the prime minister is the head of the government, while the president, if there is any, is just a ceremonial head of state. So what caused it to be so? The Second Continental Congress assembled on 10th of May 1775. The Congress acted as the provisional government of the 13 colony states. Initially, the Congress maintained that the struggle was for the rights within the British Empire, but gradually it severed all ties from the British, and on 2nd of July 1776, the Congress resolved that the United Colonies are free and independent states. 2 days later, on 4th of July, this resolution was solemnly approved and is known as the Declaration of Independence. The Congress held all the executive powers, and no separate executive branch was established, even in the Articles of Confederation, which, after being sanctioned by the states, served as the first constitution. It wasn't until 1787 that during the Constitutional Convention that the need for an executive was felt. But the burning question was, how do we elect him? This is when the concept of electoral college was presented by David Brearley of New Jersey. It proposed that the states should elect electors equal to each state's number of representatives and senators combined. The electors would vote for two candidates. The winner would become the president, and the runners-up would become the vice president. The president would serve for a term of 4 years and be eligible for continual re-election. In 1951, the president was restricted to a maximum of 2 terms. With the establishment of the post of the president, executive powers were transferred to it. However, certain executive powers were kept by the Senate. The Section 2 of Article 2 of the Constitution defines the President's executive powers, which include being the Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy, power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, and with the advice and consent of the Senate, make treaties, appoint ambassadors, public ministers, consuls, Supreme Court judges, and other officers of the United States. The Section 4 of the same article provides for the impeachment and conviction of the President in case of treason, bribery, high crime, and misdemeanor. The power was so divided and separated between the 3 branches of the government that none of the branches could gain superiority. The executive branch consisted of the President and the Vice President. The legislative branch consisted of the both houses of the Congress, and the judicial branch had Supreme Court. In this regard, the drafters of the Constitution had in mind the example of the King of England and his Parliament. They didn't want a similar setup in the United States, so they went in totally the opposite way. Instead of the cabinet and the Prime Minister, who was himself head of the legislative branch, they opted for an executive who was separate from the legislative branch and had no such power or influence over the legislation. This separation of power ensured that these branches could function freely without the overwhelming influence of each other, and in the same time could keep checks on each other. So it can be said that it was the resentment towards the British system which made the American adopt the presidential form of government. George Washington was elected the first president of the United States in 1789 and served for his 2 consecutive terms till 1797. The system has since been going on. Over the period of time, the debate did arise as to whether the US presidential system is superior or the British parliamentary system. And would it be beneficial if US adopted the parliamentary system? But any such debate has always been prematurely dismissed in the US, with the statement that the United States has the best form of government in the world. It's not just the British parliamentary system alone, but the various other countries like France, Germany, and Israel, etc., who have successfully been running their affairs of government through different variants of parliamentary form of government. But no such model has affected the legislature of US to draw towards the conclusion that their government system might need to change. The effectiveness of the presidential form of government can never be ignored, as it is the system which has produced such great results for the United States. It does provide the right balance of power among the branches of the government, but then also, it has its own shortcomings as well. In the recent times, we have seen government shutdowns due to disagreements between houses of Congress and the presidency on legislative matters. In December 2018, disagreement over the appropriation bill for 2019 caused the government to shut down for 35 days, the longest in the history of the United States. The shutdown affected many US departments, and as many as 380,000 federal workers were furloughed. Many political experts suggested that such a situation would have never arisen if US was a parliamentary democracy. Anyways, that's all for today. Hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and please subscribe the channel. Thank you for watching.